Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode in our Grain to Glass series for Bottle ERP. In this episode, we're going to be talking about spirit production and how that can be managed within Bottle ERP itself. My name is Imad Malik, and we're going to dive straight in. So, to start off with, we're looking at NetSuite and Bottle ERP, and we're going to go straight into looking at a work order. A work order is a production order where you manage how you're going to be producing things, bottling, spirit production, etc. So if we go through and select my product that we're going to be producing some liquid of, so I'm going to select my whiskey 99. The system's going to update the guide to say, well, these are the steps you need to follow to actually be able to complete this. So if I select my location, select how many I'm going to be producing, so my anticipated LPA, which will then update my bill of material that I've defined as part of my item data and my item structure as well. And then finally, I'm going to need to select a vessel that this is going into, a spirit tank, a cask, an IBC, whatever it might be. Where things are potentially of warning, a pop-up will be shown with also red highlights if there's an error or if you need to stop because you're trying to do something that you shouldn't be doing. So we try to encourage users to manage, maintain any issues or maintain any blockers themselves where possible. In this case, my production order is ready. I can now save that down. That's then going to look at the system and my setup, and it's going to generate a number of different things for me. Because we're going to be handling this through our warehouse solution, it's going to suggest barcoding and generate a batch number. What it's also going to do is going to find various other routing records to define my route that I've got in the system as well. So that'll give me my route that I'm going to follow for my production itself. So as I can see, that's now completed, and I can see my route that it suggested. So my milling, my mashing, my fermentation, etc. All the way through to the dilution. And these are individual processes that we've defined that we want to track as part of our routing record, where we've defined the different processes. We've also defined the costs associated with each process, if it's fixed priced, if it's time-based, based on the labor time, based on various other parameters, is it quantity-based. There's lots of different ways to get more accurate costing, electricity, fuel, labor included within the process, along with the standard stuff around the water, the yeast, the malt, etc. as well, all tracked and traced through the system automatically based on what's our setup. So that's now giving me my base of my spirit production. I can go through and now push this to my handheld and let the users complete this process. If we flip over, I've got a representation of our warehouse management solution. And today we are taking just a look at just the spirit production side of it. So I've got that menu loaded up and I can see the milling, the mashing, the fermentation, etc. The stages all laid out. And I can start this process. If I go to milling, that'll then load up that work order that I've got. It said it's the first mill, and now it's asking me to fill in some information. If I fill in the date and time, I can now save that. The information between our handheld solution and NetSuite and Bottle ERP are real time. Any information pieces that are filled in on the handheld are sent back to NetSuite and Bottle ERP in real time, and vice versa. Similarly, the information that you're going to be tracking at each individual stage is completely up to you. This is an example of some of the pieces of information that you could track. For the milling stage, for the mashing stage, etc., you have the ability for each stage to determine what fields you are tracking, what are the data points, what are the validation points, etc. as well. If we go back into NetSuite and refresh, we'll see that this process has now started, denoted by the red. And we can have a look at the detail of this as well by going to my milling section where I can see the milling record is in progress. If we now complete this process, selecting my batch that I'm going to be using, put in the additional information that I've said I want to use, always have the ability to put in notes as needed as well, and then save that down. I can then do a second mill, or I can mark that as complete. So if I mark that as completed, what we should see is if we go back into NetSuite, that the system is now updated and now it's gone to green to say that the milling has been completed. And I can then trace this through all the way to my actual milling record, which you can see that it's marked as completed. It's marked as me that's completed it. And if we take a deeper look at it, we can see the batch, the PSY is automatically being brought through. It's calculated the total duration for my process as well. All these processes, all these data points can then be reported on at any single stage. And as you go through every single stage within the spirit production process, you have the ability to choose what information you're tracking at each stage, what information you want to report on, what information will affect the costs, so the water that's used, the malt that's used, the yeast that's used, etc., all the way through the entire process, giving you a more accurate view of your costs as well. So that was a brief overview of our spirit production process as part of our grain to glass solution. Thank you very much for your time.